Hello again, punters, and welcome back to another episode of the Snapshot. I'm Ryan Cook. Joining me like he does every single week is Tom Rockcliffe. Finally, for the first time in 12 months, Rocky, we've had a win. Some say that we were waiting as long as Luke Bruce was waiting for Mabs to get off the field on Saturday night, but we've done it, mate. $13. The multi is up. We're away.
We are back. Yeah, I think the non-player markets might help us. I get a bit excited, a bit carried away. So it was a good multi in the end, wasn't it? I think Western Bulldogs, none of them were, well, maybe Gold Coast was the easiest watch, which was a bit surprising. But Western Bulldogs, that was close until the end. Gold Coast Suns, obviously, to win. The Giants plus 12.5. They fell in. I was licking my lips at quarter time against your Hawks, but then they got going. They were impressive. And then yesterday, the last one, North Melbourne plus 41.5, but found a way to just kick a couple late to get back into it for us.
Yeah, no, I was nervous watching for 3 of those games. Very sweaty watch. Let's look to some player markets. Let's talk about the Brownlow in particular, and the team that you did tip, the Gold Coast Suns. Matt Rowell has firmed significantly in this market into $26. He had a monster game over the weekend, 36 touches in that win over Melbourne. I've always been of the opinion that he could be a Brownlow contender at some point in his career. Do you think this price is a little bit too short, maybe an overreaction, or is it good value?
I think it's probably decent value if he continues to play the way he can, and he's back to his absolute best. We know that he's had a couple of injury concerns early on in his career, but he's back. He's finding some easier footy as well, which is the thing that he had to do to get votes. I think is find that easier pill. We know that in the past, if he had 30 touches, 28 of them would have been contested. So now he gets an opportunity to get a bit more free ball, and they're going to win more games of footy, aren't they? So the watch, I suppose, is if Anderson and Took and these guys take votes off him, but they're as powerful through the midfield as anyone in the competition.
What do you make of the Suns? Because that was their only game at the MCG this year. They've won it. They look like they could finally be a finals team. Do you think that's a hindrance to their chances maybe moving forward?
No, I don't think so. I mean, everyone says, you got to play at the MCG. Brisbane don't play a lot of games there. It's just one of those things in our fixtures that the interstate teams, particularly Brisbane, Gold Coast and the like, just don't get a lot of games there. So you just got to get used to it. Play as good as you can when you get the opportunity there, and they did that on the weekend. Melbourne, we don't know how good they are, but Gold Coast, they're the most complete they've looked, I think, in their club's history. They've got a really sound defence, and now they've got weapons off the halfback as well with Noble and Rioli through their midfield is as good as anyone in the competition, and then their forward half starting to function really well. And if King can lead them in that front half, they're pretty dangerous.
From the East Coast to the West Coast, let's talk about Fremantle. I know this one's going to hit home for you because you had a little multi on him. Josh Tracy, 4 goals in the Derby win yesterday on Sunday over West Coast. He's firmed significantly in the Coleman chase into $10. We know he's always had potential, and Fremantle has never had a player win the Coleman medal. Do you think he could potentially be a real candidate here?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's their main man in that forward half of the ground, and they've got they're starting to look like they have other avenues to goal as well in that front half. So what it does is it doesn't allow defenders to drop off and go 2-1 to him a lot of the time. It makes the other defenders more accountable in that back half for Fremantle. They've got a couple of other guys that can now potentially hit the scoreboard as well. So I think he's probably in that prime sweet spot, an opportunity. If he kicks his 3 or 4 a week, that's going to go pretty close to winning a Coleman, and even 2 or 3 realistically. If you get to 60 to 70, he's probably going to win it for you in 2025. So he's right in that market. And if they can play the way they did yesterday, West Coast, we're not sure, but if they get looks in that front half, he's going to kick his fair share of goals.
Yeah, and look, he was unlucky not to be an All-Australian last year after he got hurt, so it's good to see him kicking some big bags. Let's talk about Carlton, though. Lots to make of them, and I'm sure you'll talk about it on the podcast. But their fourth quarter woes in particular, 3 goals in 3 final quarters this year. Carlton is only one of 4 teams that hasn't won a final term, the others being West Coast, Port and Melbourne. We know they've had some issues up forward, but this is quickly becoming a bit of a strategy that punters can get around. We know they're playing the Pies this coming Friday night, absolutely massive circumstances. Do you see Carlton bouncing back here?
I don't think so. It's dangerous times for the Carlton Footy Club at the moment, and it's a bit like when you run over the top of teams, you get confidence from that, and when other teams start running over the top of you, it becomes real in your head, and it may not be that even a real thing. but it has become real, if you know what I mean. Like it may not be a factor for them. They may be fit as anyone in the competition, but now that teams know that they stop, that opposition teams think they're in the game the whole way through. So Carlton need to find a way to be able to stem that flow when opposition get flow on and get a run against them, particularly late in games, and find a way to hit the scoreboard the other way. So for them, they get a great opportunity. I mean, Carlton Collingwood at the MCG, fantastic opportunity for them to bounce back and kickstart their season, but it's not an easy task for them, and I think they're up against it to get the job done. Whether Harry Mackay comes back in to that mix, straighten them up a little bit, but yeah, I think they lose a bit of their identity when teams come at them. It feels like they maybe press the panic button a little bit early, put Curnow behind the footy, maybe just stick to your guns and back yourself in and continue to take the game on. That's what gets them out in front, gets them those leads, seen it against Richmond, but then they start to play safe and opposition teams run over the top of them.
Yeah, it does sort of feel like it's a bit of a mental hurdle here for the Blues at this point. Speaking of which, from the fourth quarter to the first quarter, your Brisbane Lions, masters of the slow starts. I think Zork said in the post-game to Lynchy on Saturday that the Lions might have to start looking to address this in practice during the week. These slow starts are becoming a little bit of a concern, but it's been a pretty good strategy as well for the punters to maybe back the first quarter line for the opposition. What do you make of Brisbane's slow starts? Is this something that we should be worried about, or are they just kind of shifting along in third gear?
Yeah, I don't think they've hit their full cylinders yet. I think they've still got a few pieces of the puzzle to work out moving forward. I wouldn't be too concerned about it at the moment. They've been good enough to be able to come back and win all 3 games of footy. So, yes, you don't want to start slow, particularly on the road. So they're going to have to address it at some point. But I don't think it's an issue at this point in time because they're good enough to be able to get their way back and get over the top. Their premiership defence, 3-0. You ask anyone in the competition if you can start the season that way, I'm sure you'd take the 3 wins. So if it's still happening sort of around 11, 12, then it becomes a concern. But at this point in time, I think it's okay.
Yeah, it helps having a nice deep list as well. Quick rapid fire question for you, Rocky. Who suffers the first loss, the Talk Hawks or the Communists?
Well, who do the Hawks have this weekend? I haven't even looked that far ahead.
We're on the bye this week, mate.
Oh, so you can't lose. Well, I think the Gold Coast Suns will actually win this week. Yep, so I think the Crows will have their first loss. That's
a nice little segue into our multi. We've already talked about what we got up last week, but this week we're going big value again. We've got double figures. Give me your best legs here, mate.
Well, a bit of juice. I think the Giants, I think they'll bounce back. I'm going to take them. I wanted them 10-plus goals, but on the line at the moment, so alternate handicap, minus 57.5 against West Coast. I think they will smash them on their home deck. West Coast coming off the Derby and then flying over. I think they're up against it. And Geelong on Friday night against Melbourne, minus 15.5 and an alternate handicap as well. I think they'll get the job done by more than 3 goals down there.
Yeah, no, I love backing the Cats to bounce back from a loss. It's always a safe play. I'm going to take the Gold Coast Suns, as you just alluded to, against the Crows on Saturday. Head-to-head, we're getting a good price. First home game for the Suns. I think they have the potent forward line that can really attack Adelaide's sort of porous defence that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. Then I'm going to take the alternate line on Richmond against Brisbane. As I said, these slow starts against the Lions, I think 48.5, that's a generous margin. I think the Tigers can at least keep this close. So we've got the Cats alternate line, minus 15.5 against the D's. Giants alternate line, minus 57.5 against West Coast. Suns to win. Richmond alternate 48.5, $10.56.
Ooh, bit of juice. Let's go back to back, Ryan.
Yeah, see if we're smoking the cigar again next week, mate. Thank you, Rocky.
Good on you, mate.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website